The Canadian real estate market is the most volatile it has been in history. As sales plummet, listings increase, and data, depending on where you are, is all over the map. Some cities are performing well, some cities are performing poorly, and in some cities you have the condo market tanking while the single family home market is increasing. And with all of this information, all this news, all this data out there, the question is, should you be buying a home this year? And the answer to that question has less to do with what's going on in the market and more to do with your personal circumstances. If you want the latest Canadian real estate and financial news and the best information when it comes to buying and selling a home or getting a mortgage in Canada, this is the place for you. So do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and hit the like button so more people like you can see this video. And as always, feel free to go to mortgagesecrets.ca to get a copy of my book, Mortgage Secrets, completely for free. All you have to do is pay the shipping and handling. This has all the information that you need in order to get the best interest rate and the best mortgage for you from a bank, from a broker, or from wherever you choose. All the secrets are in the book. Again, go to mortgagesecrets.ca to get that. Now, without further ado, let's get into the video why you shouldn't buy a home in 2024 in Canada. So I'm going to take you in here and show you a couple quick points on why you shouldn't buy a home in Canada this year. And the first reason why you shouldn't be buying a home this year is if you're buying it knowing that it's going to be a short-term purchase, whether it's as an investment or whether it's a purchase that you're going to make to live in. If you're buying a property knowing that you are going to be moving in the next 2 to 3 years, it's probably not a good idea to buy. There's a couple of reasons for that. The first is obviously the fact that short-term market fluctuations can make it very hard to sell a property and can eat up a down payment very quickly if you're forced to sell in the short term. In addition to that, there's things like payroll penalties on the mortgage that can eat into your equity, as well as the very expensive real estate commissions that can pretty much take 5 to 6% right off the top. So if you're purchasing a property and you know that you aren't going to be owning it for at least 5 to 10 years, it might not be the right time to buy. Now, that's not to say that you shouldn't purchase the property if you can plan on keeping it, even if you are going to move. But if you have a definitive timeline and it's in a very short period of time that you're going to have to sell that property, you probably shouldn't be buying. Now, in addition to that, there is the next reason, which is FOMO. Because a lot of people over the last couple of years have been caught up in the fear of missing out of owning a home. And let me tell you right now that you should never buy a home just because everyone else is telling you that you should. There's been a lot of that over the last few years, and the people who have lost the most are the people who were not ready to buy a home, perhaps couldn't afford it, and bought because they thought that if they didn't do it, they wouldn't be able to buy somewhere in the future. And this is a real serious problem in the Canadian housing market. People who purchase just because the market's going up, buy at the top, and then find themselves with a property that they eventually need to sell that's worth nowhere close to what it was bought for. So don't buy just because everyone else is. The only time you should be buying is when it is the right time for you to buy, not just because there's a lot of activity in the market. Now, the next reason why you shouldn't be buying a home this year is just because you think interest rates are going to drop. Because many people are jumping back into the market, expecting the Bank of Canada to reduce interest rates and thinking that somewhere in the near future, the cost to own that home is going to be significantly less because interest rates went down. But don't get caught up in the idea that interest rates have to go lower, because they don't. And while they may go lower, they're probably not going to go as low as many people expect. Because if at the end of the day you are surprised, interest rates don't go down to where you think they are, and as a result, the housing market takes a hit, you could end up getting a double whammy of having to pay a higher interest rate than you thought, while at the same time also having a property that's worth less because interest rates didn't go where they were supposed to. The next reason you should, and this is never buy a home during this type of time unless you absolutely have to, is if there are bidding wars happening. If every property you try to buy has multiple offers, it's probably a sign that the market is heating up or possibly overheating. Just ask all the people who bought in 2021 during that market that seemed to be going up and up and up, where everyone believed that it would never correct, and inevitably it did in many markets by as much as 20% in 2022 and 2023. So if a market is in a place where there are bidding wars on pretty much every property, that's usually a sign that there's some sort of hysteria, and it is a sign that you're probably going to end up overpaying for those properties. And in addition to that, if you are ever put in a position where you are instructed to write conditionless offers, or where you feel the need to write a conditionless offer, so an offer without a financing condition or a home inspection condition, Well, you could be finding yourself in a really bad situation. The only time anybody should ever be buying a property without financing conditions, without a home inspection condition, is when they know with certainty that they have the option in some way, shape, or form to buy a property without financing, basically in cash, so that if they do write that offer and they aren't able to get financing, they aren't stuck having to give up a deposit or potentially being sued by a seller. And then last but not least, never buy a property that you can't afford. And especially if you can't afford it, if rates do end up going up, if you lose your job, if you don't have additional savings, or if there is an unexpected recession. So when you purchase a property, it's important that you don't take all of your money and just apply it to the down payment and then hope that you're going to be able to continue to afford that property in the long run. Because there are all kinds of hidden costs that come up when you end up owning a home. And a lot of times this catches people by surprise. So when you're buying a property, make sure that you have at least 6 to 12 months worth of savings just in case something happens with the property, you lose your job, or if interest rates do go up. Now, all of this talk about not buying a property leads to the question of, well, who should be buying a property? Here's the answer to that. People who should be buying a property are the people who find themselves in a life circumstance that warrants actually buying a property. So something like a growing family, something like a new job that maybe has a longer commute, or some other factor. Maybe you're moving from one city to another and you're going to be putting down roots for 5, 10, 15 years. Or maybe you just got into a relationship and you don't want to be living in the old bachelor pad that the boyfriend slept with all of his past girlfriends in, that sort of thing. So if you're the type of person who is in a situation where it makes sense for you to be purchasing a property, then fine, do it. Don't try to time the market. Don't try to time interest rates. If it is the right time for you to change the type of property that you live in, buy a home. If you're paying too much rent, you hate your landlord, you've got a down payment saved and a little bit of extra money on top of that, buy a home, as long as it doesn't cost you significantly more than it would cost you to rent. But outside of that, outside of it being the right time for you and the right situation for you, don't ever feel like you are being forced into buying a property. Don't ever buy a home based on external factors. The factors that should be leading you to purchase a property are factors that are internal to you and your family situation. And that's it. It is as simple as that. Oh, and if you want to see a video on what's going on in the Canadian real estate market right now, make sure you check out this video right here.